Fear is to not trust. Fear is to be wary. Fear is to not live life. We have it on our backs like a spider weighing us down and slowing us with its webs. Some fall prey, but some are the broom that squashes it. One way that we experience the spider is through sexual violence. And as we'll see, this affects all genders, sexes, and races. This could happen to any of us at any time. But there are ways to minimize this. This is an important thing to discuss because although it's uncomfortable, it affects us all. I've experienced it, my friends have experienced it, my family has experienced it, and I know so many people on this campus who have experienced it as well. We'll explore ways that we can help you by looking at sexual violence rates, UWM's sexual violence prevention methods, and ways to improve UWM's safety. By giving our communities the tools needed to minimize sexual violence, we'll experience the most college has for us. When we think about sexual violence, we think about how 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men experience sexual violence, and this is by the American Association of University Women, but that's not necessarily true. And this is because of intersectionality, or how every aspect of one's identity influences their chances of experiencing sexual violence. I calculated that there are 4,564 identities one could have, 4,200 being religions, 5 races according to the University of Florida, 6 biological sexes according to the World Health Organization, and 53 genders according to Facebook. And this is an issue because different identity combinations are at greater risk for sexual violence than others, as made aware by Iris Young, author of the book 5 Faces of Oppression. The goal of violence is to damage, humiliate, or destroy the person. And for some, it's a hate crime. For example, a good friend of mine was raped multiple times by UWM students as well as a UWM authority figure. And this was due solely because of their gender identity as well as their sexuality. When it comes to UWM's attempts at minimizing sexual violence on their campus, there are 3 aspects that stick out the most: the safety tips, bystander intervention, and including alcohol into the equation. All these are forms of victim blaming. Dr. Chris Linder, the keynote speaker for the most recent extra credit opportunity, expressed that the safety tips, such as don't walk out at night, let's see. Don't wear tight clothes, etc. In some ways are effective because they do reduce the violence, but they also create a constant sense of fear, mistrust, and paranoia. These tips make it seem like it's your job to not get assaulted, that it's your fault if you get assaulted, and that you did something wrong if you do get assaulted. As such, they propose that we need to be mindful of the situations that we're putting ourselves into and teach people how to not assault. Black Girl Dangerous, a blog written about colored women's LGBT experiences, highlights that the theory of bystander intervention focuses on the idealistic view of the hero in shining armor, while in reality, bystander intervention allows the person who's most skilled in violence to control a situation and allows the safety of the victim up to the chance of the dual outcome. Their solution? Stop violence at its roots, childhood bullying. The saying, boys will be boys, encourages men to grow up thinking that sexual assault and violence is a normal thing, that is their entitlement because they're men. Let's see. When it comes to the connection between alcohol and sexual violence, Jane Doe, a coalition against sexual violence and sexual assault and domestic violence, believes that although alcohol helps sexual violence to occur, it doesn't cause it, and it perpetuates rape culture. Rape culture, a culture that normalizes male sexual violence and perpetuates victim blaming, so the blaming of the victim, allowing 1 in 10 men to exert their power over others in the form of sexual violence, according to the Sexual Assault Prevention Center at the University of Michigan. You know these people, you have classes with these people, you talk to these people, and you're friends with these people. Some people believe that rape culture doesn't exist, that if people get raped, then that's their fault, and an apology is good enough. But rape is never your fault. That it's your fault if you do rape, and an apology doesn't take away the PTSD as well as the physical and mental harm that comes from it, as well as the STDs and stuff like that. But as well as all 3 of these are refutable by looking at consent. Simply put, by this consent video on YouTube, which is actually a kind of famous video, you may not have sex with someone without them explicitly saying, while in a sober state, yes, I agree, or something as blatant as that. They are under no obligation to partake in or allow any sexual contact, harassment, or violation, no matter what, and no matter the day, time of day, or the mental state they're in. You must ask before initiating anything and then fully respect their statement without question. So, what can we do as a community to stop this, and why is it better? Okay, that's 8 minutes, kid. Obviously, we can't prevent sexual violence from happening, but we can educate and spread awareness. This might seem like a passive call to action, but educating and spreading awareness will create change because it is us that supports and allows it to continue, nobody else. So, on the sheet of paper that I gave to you that says, write one thing down that you can do to help your community. Just take a moment to jot a few notes down, or like an idea of how you can educate and spread awareness of this. So yeah.